Thank you for being here this morning for the February 2nd, 2017 meeting of the Sacramento County Community Corrections Partnership. I'm Marlon Yarber, Assistant Chief Probation Officer, sitting in this morning for Chief Seal. I will now ask the clerk to call the roll and establish a quorum.
Good morning. Martin?
Here.
Heller?
Here.
Ferguson?
Here.
Lake? Duran?
Here.
Ainsworth? Torgerson?
Here.
Grippy?
Here.
Bray?
Here.
Perry?
Here.
Walker?
Here.
Yarber?
Here.
And you have a quorum. This meeting of the Sacramento County Community Corrections Partnership is being cablecast on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel on the Comcast, Consolidated Communications, and AT&T Uverse. This meeting replays on Sunday, February 5th at 4 p.m. on Channel 14. This meeting is simultaneously webcast at www.secmetrocable.tv. Please call Metro Cable at 874-7685 for up-to-date replay dates and times. A DVD copy of this meeting can be requested through the clerk 7 to 10 days after the meeting. If you have any electronic devices, we ask that you silence them at this time so we don't have interruptions during the meeting. If you wish to address the Community Corrections Partnership on any item on the agenda or not on the agenda, please fill out a gold speaker form, which are located at the back table of the chambers. Give it to the clerk and we will call you at the appropriate time. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The first item on the agenda.
Item number 1, Department of Health and Human Services, Proposition 47, Grant Program Presentation.
Okay. Good morning, members of the Community Corrections Board. Thank you for giving me time today to be able to present this grant proposal to you on behalf of the entire team that worked on this. My name is Uma Zajkowski. I'm the Behavioral Health Director for Sacramento County's Department of Health and Human Services. And on behalf of this team, I'd like to walk you through the grant proposal that we put together with the collaboration of many parties. As you can see, the grant proposal is been put together by DHHS, Probation Department, Sacramento Superior Court, District Attorney's Office, and the Office of Public Defender. I also want to acknowledge that we received much assistance from the Sheriff's Department and Corrections to look at data, to think about what are the gaps in our community and how can we put forward a competitive grant proposal to be able to be successful with this approach. So I want to thank everybody, many who are not named there, but who got calls to ask for data and to sort of refine our thinking. Do I do this? Sure. Okay. We have many members in the public, so I will try to calibrate this. I know many people here know what this Prop 47 is, but just a brief overview. The voters approved this initiative November 2014, and the purpose is to ensure that prison spending is focused on violent and serious offenses and to maximize alternatives for non-serious, non-violent crimes. Also, to invest the savings generated from this effort into delivering mental health services and substance use disorder treatment to individuals who are coming out of these systems to be able to better integrate into the community. So, BSCC, sometimes we don't remember what that stands for, so that's the Board of State and Community Corrections. It's responsible for administering these grants, and after a very elaborate process, has put this grant forward to advance community reentry while also reducing recidivism. The eligible population. The eligible population, because there's been so much conversation about people needing mental health services and substance use disorder services, BSCC focused this grant particularly on an eligible population where either it's adults or juveniles arrested, charged with, or convicted of a criminal offense, and this is why we put that in bold, and have a mental health or a substance use disorder treatment need. So we thought about this very carefully around our different systems as we went through the decision points for what we needed to put together. So the types of activities that are eligible under this grant: mental health services, substance use disorder treatment, a diversion program, or some combination thereof. The supplemental services, and these are important because you get additional points if you're able to cover these areas. Housing-related services. We all know that some of the folks coming out into the community are challenged to find housing, and therefore this is one of the drivers for the recidivism in this population. So housing-related services is one area for that we are also looking at to collaborate with our community partners. And other community-based support services such as job skills training, case management, and legal services. All of these things. The housing being the one that has the greatest incentives in the grant as we read it. Okay. What are the requirements? Requirements are you have to be a public agency to apply. So this is why we thought about it a lot, and Department of Health and Human Services took the lead to be the agency to put this application forward on behalf of Sacramento County. The public agency must partner with one or more community organizations for a minimum of 50% of the total grant award. So that is built into the grant, that we have the community-based organization involvement in whatever proposal we put forward. The grants can be used to support a new or expand existing services, and supplantation is prohibited. I highlight the new and expand because later you will see why this becomes very relevant. The amounts for this grant are not so large. So when you try to build something completely from scratch, you might end up spending all the money on the grant to put something on the ground that you don't actually, aren't able to do very much to show the outcomes. So new or expand was very important to see. And also that the grant funding may not be used for services provided in locked or custodial settings. So we can't really do the work inside the jail, for instance, or any other detention facility. So this is really trying to foster and promote the community-based response system to reintegrate individuals into the community. Lastly, quite an important item, and I will come back to this for your advice on it, is that we must have a local advisory committee to have the input and ongoing feedback for this program to go forward and to keep looking at it. We can use existing bodies, existing committees in our county, and yesterday we did speak with the Mental Health Advisory Board They were very enthusiastic and excited about being a part of this local advisory committee. So that was done yesterday, and we can talk a little bit more about that as we go forward. This is the money part. It's a very competitive RFP, a request for proposal. It's my understanding that many counties are looking at it, so I would think it will be very competitive for whatever we put forward, so you do have to be somewhat unique in what you're trying to do with this. Total statewide funding is $83 million, and $20 million is already taken out for LA County, so that's not, they're in their own sort of universe on this. Available funding is up to $6 million for 38 months, so it's a 3-year project, and there's some specific inclusions, 5% for a data collection evaluation, so that we're able to show what we did with this grant, and that's built in, and 50% or more for community-based organizations for the variety of services we talked about before. A very tight timeline. An intent to apply had to be submitted on January 20th, and we certainly had the intent at that point, so we did submit the intent to apply. And the proposals are due February 21st, which is, again, a very tight timeline to get everything in place. Notice to applicants will be June 2017, and new program implementation, interestingly, is June 2017, too. So you can see that they want everything not only proposed but delivered very fast on this. So that goes back to the question of new or expand programs. You really have to think, how fast can you get anything on the ground to be able to show that you use the money appropriately according to the grant. So we spent some time thinking about these issues. So this is our proposal that we bring before you, which is we're proposing to expand and enhance the mental health treatment court. A little bit of a description of what the mental health treatment court is. It was established in 2007 as a very small pilot in this county. It provides people with mental illness services, recovery, and mental health services that helps them do with skills building, managing their concerns, family problems, anger, substance use, and completing probation conditions. They get treatment. Their treatment is out of the county's mental health programs, and whatever substance use service they get is also typically out of the current substance use, alcohol and drug services in the county. It's voluntary. There's random drug testing, and the referrals come from public defender, district attorney, jail psychiatry, community providers, family law enforcement, probation courts. So pretty much you can get a referral in, but it has to actually go through the process of being examined by the legal for people in our county before it moves forward. So the goals, it's really, I kind of tried to think about this. I think this is treatment with accountability. It's really having treatment goals, which are alternatives to individuals who are charged with a felony or misdemeanor offenses. Provide treatment, make available alternatives to incarceration, reduce jail time for participants. For each individual participant that is approved for this program, they come out of the jail faster, and it thereby does reduce jail population as well. It promotes community reentry in terms and in ways that gives the communities a sense of safety, that people are being provided treatment and are being monitored, and it reduces their recidivism in the community. Not insignificant, it also reduces inpatient hospitalization and utilization of crisis services. So if they are in treatment, they actually don't come back to the ERs or to are in need of inpatient care. Though I would have a caveat there to say that if they were to need it, they would still get it because the providers would take them to the appropriate place. But these are all the things that the mental health court is able to provide us, even though it does it at a very small scale right now in our community. So the target population we just spoke about, it's adults charged with, I'd like to go back for a moment and say something around why we picked this population. The grant does allow us to pick any different age population. And the reason we picked the adult population versus, for example, the juvenile population is we actually did consider both very carefully to say what are the benefits of going with one population and another, what is the population we would have the biggest return on this small grant. And after much discussion, we realized that we have multiple initiatives going on the juvenile children's side with our commercial sexually exploited children's initiatives, our crossover youth practice model, many of the things we're doing right now to address the transition age youth on the mental health side, as well as child welfare and probation. So we thought this particular grant fit much better in terms of our competitiveness with the adult side, and that was why we really considered going with the adult population. I wanted to say that because I know people say, well, why did you go here and not there to a different population, since it does say you could do any of those. The eligibility, and we went with charged with a felony, a misdemeanor, and with a severe or persistent mental illness. So we're really looking at the population that in our county, in our community, people have so much concern that we do the right thing to help them out. Eligibility is to be a Sacramento County resident, pending felony or misdemeanor, serious mental illness with experiencing severe functional impairment, and their participation in treatment, voluntary, willing to agree to participate. These are all the things that you do have to check before you put someone into a mental health court program as an alternative to remaining in detention. There are some exclusionary factors that we talked about a lot in our work group and thinking, and on a case-by-case basis, you might look at some of them, but most of them are exclusionary factors that are there because we really want to have the community feel comfortable with this program being delivered in the community. Program structure: the participant is referred to the mental health court, and behavioral health services completes a behavioral health assessment to find out if they're already linked to services, whether they need new services, what type of level of service they need in terms of a clinical assessment. The district attorney determines eligibility and notifies the team. They have access to many records that they evaluate when they're considering whether they are comfortable with moving this to the mental health court. If eligible, behavioral health will link the participant to a mental health provider, and it gets calendared on the court for the mental health court. The participant, with the support of mental health court, goes through a phased approach, which is linked to incentives and sanctions. So we have check-ins with probation, intake with the mental health provider, attending the court. They have to go to court and meet with the court regularly, maintaining sobriety, random drug testing, involvement in community-based activities, and especially giving them some skills, building skills for their success in the community. This is an extremely important part. A multidisciplinary team is at the heart of the mental health court because it has the judge, the public defender, district attorney, probation, behavioral health, and the community-based providers, and they meet every week. So this is very intensive, both from the clinical side, they're meeting every week, and and getting reports and making adjustments on the treatment plan as they go forward, depending on what the treatment team sees, what the probation side sees, or what is the comfort level of the Superior Court judge and others to continue with them in the program. So this weekly MDT is very time-consuming, a very lot of effort and a lot of attention, but it's critical for this kind of program to be successful. They review potential participants, they look at all the current participants as appropriate, and they look at what other things they can do if things are not working out. The court meets once a week. As I mentioned, the mental health court started in 2007, but about a year ago, there was an opportunity through the California Judicial Council to apply for a small grant, a recidivism grant, and it's really a one-year grant. And we were successful in getting a co-occurring component for substance use services for the individuals in the mental health court. So we included the alcohol and drug service representatives and the alcohol and drug inpatient and outpatient providers, as well as probation, a small piece from this grant that funded probation for this. This is important because we know that the substance use piece is very important for being addressed in this population, but the mental health court side was not funded for that part. You can see in bold that program ends April 30th. So in some ways, this grant coming forward was really important to us to say, hey, can we do something else to take the lessons we've learned? And we have learned a lot of lessons from having that co-occurring court for just 1 year, and take that and embed that and enhance that to make our mental health court utilize this grant money for something better than what we have currently. So these are what our enhancements, our new and expand, our expansion and enhancements to our Prop 47 grant for the mental health court. We want to increase the total capacity to 140. I know you're going to ask me, well, what's it at now? So I will tell you, it's about 90. But the truth is, it's probably a little bit lower than that, only because of some of the tough decision points that currently we have to work out in terms of is there enough staffing and funding available to put someone in the mental health court in the current environment and have both the community feel safe and the treatment be adequate and the oversight be adequate. So we're going up really from about 90 to 140, which doesn't seem so big, but it is big if you think about the amount of treatment and oversight. Typically, it's an 18-month program, so you really want a lot of oversight, and so it seems like small numbers, but the return is quite big if you're able to help that many people. We want to increase the court calendar dates from 1 to twice a week, and I will speak to that in a moment. And we want to add community-based probation supervision. We don't have that right now in our program, and that would mean we would have the ability to have probation officers go out and do community-based work with this population, which I think really strengthens the community's sense that this is really a program that it may have people who have difficulty, but they are being overseen and supervised appropriately. And the treatment provider isn't put in the position of being the supervisor, but really sit within their role as a treatment provider, whether they are doing alcohol and drug treatment or mental health treatment, case management, all the other things that go with treatment. We're increasing the ability to use peer mentors and co-occurring case management recovery specialists. There's a lot of pushing and pulling that goes on with these clients to make sure they take that they develop the motivation to do the treatment for themselves. Until you can change that involuntary to voluntary desire and have a hook for that, it is very difficult. So you really need the peer mentors to talk to them about how their road of success, and also the co-occurring recovery specialists. And lastly, and we're still working a little more on this, but we put it in there because it's our intention to have it, is housing supports and resources, so that we're able to link our program much more directly into the existing housing efforts that are going on. Among the other enhancements that we're proposing, and these are things that are unique to our proposal as we have thought about it, is to train all team members in some very specific things. One is a mental health first aid. It's an evidence-based, nationally recognized basic mental health 101 to help anyone who's not a clinician necessarily be able to identify when there's something going on the mental health side and be able to take the appropriate action. Behavioral health has been doing this mental health first aid for close to 4 years. We have very good trained staff in this community, both our county trained staff as well as our community-based providers. So having this team be fully proficient in mental health first aid is a really, really good enhancement. The other enhancement, it says Recovery 101, and that's really what I said before, which is helping this team understand from the peer and consumer perspective what is the path someone walks, and to really have that sense of what the supports they can give to help the person own the decision around recovering in the community. So we have, again, Recovery 101 is delivered on the mental health side by our peer mentors and our peer programs, and we're going to leverage both our mental health first aid and Recovery 101 from our mental health side for this program. Evidence-based practices such as trauma-informed treatments and cognitive behavioral treatment to modify criminal behavior and thinking. So we're really looking at providing some really solid training, again, leveraging that through existing training that we do. And the last one is the level of service case management, LSCMI assessments. I'm not the expert in that, but I do know that this is something that our probation department has been using for many years, and that, just like on the mental health side, we do the clinical assessment to determine a level of service or high need or low need. The LSCMI is actually doing that from a probation lens to see what the high or low or medium, moderate need there is for what kind of supervision model would work best for this individual. So we're going to provide these enhancements and as part of our grant proposal to enhance the mental health court in these areas. The other thing we're doing is making some tweaks around the population served. We're designing this to include at-risk offenders with a spectrum of treatment needs and varying degrees of probation. As I mentioned, we're trying to look at, you need how much probation supervision do you need and where do you need it, and we're also looking at consideration to be given to felony and misdemeanor defendants with long criminal records who also have the mental health or co-occurring need. So this is really our effort to work closely with our DA and our public defender to identify what is the comfort level and what would it take to have a comfort level to do more in the community by utilizing this court structure that is treatment-driven, but is very, very also embedded as well with the necessary components to have the entire multidisciplinary team work well together. So some of our enhancements, we're going to take what we just talked about, you know, probation and the referral coming in, and then determining what is the right mix that we need. Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I thought I went too far. So we're going to divide up our court into two types of courts. One is the intensive mental health court program, and that is one where offenders with the greater risk for public safety, and we require a higher level of community-based supervision, as well as higher intensity needs. Now, really, from the perspective of the team, what we're trying to do is have two courts. One which is more high intensity in mental health court, and the other one is a mental health court program. Because as you know, people will start at one level, 6 months later they might be at another level, higher or lower. We hope it's always lower, but it can be things happen and it's not. So we're trying to break the court, our court calendar into two courts where we're able to mirror the work we're doing with the probation and mental health and substance use, the high, low level, depending on what it is, and appropriately put people in one of those two courts, knowing that we can move people in the 2 court calendars. Really important, because if someone is doing well, it's nice to have them go to the shorter court calendar and let them go on and not feel all involved with the court, but more involved with their treatment. So we're trying to, but then there's the other side, which is if you need time to really intensively look at someone, you want the time dedicated. So we're increasing our count, changing our programming design to have an intensive and a mental health court program. We talked this, modeled through, this was, you would appreciate that this was the discussion that took the most time and the most work among all our partners, because we really had to come to an agreement of minds, a consensus on being able to do this with 2 court calendars and people who think differently to sort of give a little, take a little, and come up with consensus. So I really want to acknowledge the team members from all parties who sat at the table and went back and forth on this. This last slide, close to the last, is there is a requirement to have a local advisory committee. And the committee is from the local stakeholder process. It's from existing structures we have, from community organizations, departments, educators, community and faith-based organizations, law enforcement, social service, pretty much the whole gamut of people who have an interest in this kind of a program being successful and who are impacted by the justice system's improvements. We would like them to have some expertise or knowledge of the mental health court structure, but I don't think that's essential. That's more that will grow as we get people who are enthusiastic and interested. There are some requirements around regular community meetings for ongoing feedback, for non-confidential updates, because clearly we will do the treatment and we will honor all the different confidential matters, but we need to have an advisory committee that is able to address this. And in our grant, we actually have to submit the membership roster of our advisory committee and a letter of agreement from our local advisory committee to perform that kind of function. Last night, the Mental Health Board did agree, and we're enthusiastic to be members of the advisory committee, and we were hoping that this is an action that we would bring to you for your deliberation today, which is the creative advisory structure that we're proposing in our grant is to have the Mental Health Board, the Community Corrections Partnership, and the Alcohol and Drug Advisory Board have representatives, assigned representatives, a primary and a backup, and alongside some members of the community that could also sit on this committee to be really a very vibrant body that's able to see if this project is going well and to have that ongoing advisory role. So that is a matter that I want to hold your thoughts when we go through to the end, because we really want to be able to submit something that we do well, which is very impressive. The work was very hard in the last month and a half to get so many parties to the table to think one way. But one of the strengths we have in our community is that when we are tested, we do come to the table and we hash it out. We put it there and we talk it through, and we do come up with something. So this is a good thing if we have an advisory committee that mirrors that same approach that the planning process took. So today, I wanted to stop for a moment and ask for any questions you may have. We have people who might have public comment, and these are the areas that we have to respond to in our grant, and we are using your thoughts also to improve the proposal that we have before you. Our target population, whether you believe that that is a good target population that we've selected, anything that we have missed from what we have talked to you today, and any other community input or community input today.
So thank you first for that very comprehensive overview of the proposal and the idea behind the county's application. Obviously no small feat in terms of organizing lots of different departments and interests. I like actually like the idea of expansion and provision of services for the mental health population. Let me first maybe open it up. It looks like we have at least one person who's asked to comment. We got a second. Paul Lake.
Yes, Uma, thank you for the presentation. I've learned long ago to not interrupt you because as I write questions down, I know that you'll answer them before I need to ask them. And Britt can look over my shoulder and see I scratched out half of my questions. So thank you, very thorough. I would like, maybe you can talk, or perhaps someone from the District Attorney's Office or Public Defender to talk a little bit more about the referral process and what kinds of things are taken into consideration. I'm sure there's a larger pool of people who could benefit from this program that probably can't get into it because of capacity. So I'm wondering how that triage process works, what role the Public Defender plays in that conversation, and how the District Attorney kind of sorts through and says this person is probably most suited relative to others.
Sure. I think we have both Ryan. Oh, we have them right here. See, I'm telling you, this team was really on it. So this is really great because from my perspective, I was always insisting, you know what, I'm from the mental health and behavior and alcohol and drug side. Don't ask me questions about how the PD or the DA agrees or doesn't agree to make the referral, because at the end of the day, the mental health court, the referral has to start after you guys agree to it and give it to us, and then we'll do our work on this. So having them here, because they worked so hard, I would really like to call them to the podium to answer.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Should we do ladies first?
Yes.
Okay.
Identify yourselves as well.
I would like to say that there is a healthy tension in this process. It's a very good question, Paul, because they're very difficult decisions. I'm really pretty excited about this grant because I was involved in Prop 47's implementation and the whole decriminalization of drugs and theft crimes. And so now from the public safety perspective, we have this large population of people who have cycled in and out of prison, have bad drug problems that lead to a lot of theft and a lot of impact on our merchants and our homes. And that has been an underserved population now because they're just cycling in and out of our misdemeanor section. And so they're the people that cause a big impact in our community and have a lot of mental health issues because they have a lot of drug issues, and sometimes it's hard to see, what came first, but they certainly are now coexistent. So now we finally have this body of money that came to us because of Prop 47, and I'm happy that we're now going to be able to serve that population, those people that are now considered to be low-level criminal defendants because they're mostly facing misdemeanors now. But we used to protect our community by trying to lock them away for quite a while. We can't do that anymore. So instead of just cycling them in and out of jail, we'd like to cycle them into mental health court where we can, offer the carrot of treatment, housing, education, help with jobs, to see if we can use our mental health court with this population that has a lot of mental health court issues to be out of jail and into services and into maybe a more healthy lifestyle. So that's our view for our lower level services, the ones that hopefully won't need as much probation supervision to be safe in the community, but just more helps. So the idea from the district attorney's perspective, and I'm sure from Ryan's, is let's look at the people that cost the system the most and that face the most consequences, and see if we can get those people out of our criminal justice system and into this sort of halfway system that the mental health court provides, where we sort of straddle two worlds. On the opposite perspective, it's the violent people, the people with really pretty bad mental health and usually substance abuse issues that are reacting in our community in more violent ways. And the public defender, understandably, as well as the mental health providers, would like to see those people get more services in the community. But up till now, it's been very difficult from the public safety perspective to want to have too many of those people in, because we have not had our law enforcement partners, probation, on board where they can service these people and have oversight. We've been relying upon our mental health providers to do that really sort of untenable position of being not only the treatment providers, but also the people that kind of have to bring to the mental health court's attention people that are slipping. So now they can fulfill their role of helping the people in their mental health and substance abuse treatments, and we'll have probation on board to tell us, look, this person is now acting out in a way, they're abusing drugs again, they're engaging in high-risk behaviors that are not keeping our community safe. So we feel like that's, to me, the most exciting piece, is that we're going to have probation on board to be able to give us that LCS CMI to be able to help us figure out who are these high risk, high needs. But when you have needs, it means there is something you can do for them, and see if we can together help these people be out of our jails and prisons and still be safe in the community.
Well said, and it covered a lot of the things that I would have said. So I'm just going to direct more of my stuff to the actual referral process that you had asked about. Generally speaking, as it was brought up in the PowerPoint, we discussed the idea that anybody can basically make referrals, and the list of referring parties has grown over the years, which is part of the need to expand this court. It started initially with just like public defenders that represented somebody, and they thought, oh, this person seems mentally ill, and then the district attorney sometimes would look at a case, it would be obvious in the police report there was some mental illness, so they would kind of make the referral. Over time, with our partnerships growing, now we get referrals from jail psych. We'll begin to look at people. Law enforcement, Officer Lazark from the SPD and such, will frequently text or email me if they feel they have someone in custody that could benefit from this. So what's happening is it's growing, and for good or bad, the central referral point is myself. So what happens is individuals that are interested in these particular courts, they contact myself, and then I have them fill out the necessary releases of information, and we make a referral process to behavioral health. Behavioral health will go out and do an assessment of the individual with regard to their mental illness and their needs of how much help they need to get their mental health under control, per se. And then what happens is a discussion occurs between the district attorney and myself with regard to that person, whether or not that individual can be allowed into the court. As Ms. Shakely brought up, there are a lot of parameters to look at and keep in mind. Obviously, we have different interests, but we have to kind of work together in this. I think that the description of healthy tension was a great description by Ms. Shakely, because with these types of cases, there's always going to be that tension. We just went to the Stepping Up conference, and I thought it was very telling that one of the counties that spoke there said, we don't have the money that a lot of Sacramento and stuff has. So the way that we decide who kind of goes in our mental health court is we look at who got arrested over the weekend, and what we do is we look for everyone that was arrested for resisting arrest or fighting with an officer or a threat, and we have about a 50% hit rate that they have mental illness. And so that's kind of their process, and they said, you guys are way ahead of us for what you have to offer. So this program the expansion is very exciting for a lot of reasons, because understandably from the district attorney's standpoint, that's concerning. This person assaults police officers, doesn't necessarily respect authority. Well, they're off their medications, and they're not maybe ever, some of these people have never been treated. This is the very first time they're getting any sort of avenue through behavioral health, and some of these individuals have a history, but unfortunately with a lot of mental illness, it tends to be cyclical. People kind of do well, and they think they're doing so well they don't need their medications anymore. Like, I feel great, and then they don't realize or put that connection together. So this will, I think, appease a lot of the concerns on the district attorney's part with regard to safety, because it will allow us to have 2 probation officers that will actually go into the field and conduct that intensive supervision on those 50 individuals. And 50 was based on the number that probation says that's about what we can handle with 2 full-time officers. And so this will allow them to be a little bit more on top of the individual. But what's also great about this program, the way that we're looking to expand it, is there's flexibility. And as was mentioned by Uma and Robin, we have tiers. And so we allow the individuals that are doing really well and no longer need that kind of supervision. Maybe they've been working with us in the intensive unit for 8 months and have been really excelling. We're then at that point probably wasting a resource. So the idea is we can step them down to where they have less supervision, but it also allows for, if the district attorney, behavioral health, whoever it may be, has some concerns that I think this client is a little bit more needing of services or supervision, we can move them up. So that's something that we don't have right now, and that allows a lot of opportunity. And lastly, as it was mentioned, the data collection aspect would be huge for us, because right now we haven't had any funding. I mean, our offices generally are not funded at all for these courts, and they're done in kind, per se, for most of it. So the data collection will allow us to show that those evidence-based practices, to show that the things that we see, the lack of recidivism, the lack of individuals having more hospitalizations, it would actually be substantiated by a program that would allow us all to have access to get those numbers more quickly. So from my standpoint, the referral process under this system would still be the same. It doesn't necessarily relieve my workload, unfortunately, but I don't mind doing it because I think it's for a greater good in serving a greater population.
Okay. Could you also touch on how the issue of competency and competency restoration fits into this program?
Yes, that actually in large part was UMA's suggestion. As I mentioned that our partners are growing as far as who's making referrals. Some of the jail-based competency training doctors have started contacting me with some of the felons that they're like, this person's been restored, but they were very ill when that crime occurred, and I think they could really benefit, rather than just saying they're restored and sending them on through the system. It would be better to kind of direct them your way if everybody could agree. And then Uma, I'll let her speak to some suggestions she had with regard to the competency program expanding for referrals.
Thank you.
So this was one of the things that we thought would be a really good path, because we have the jail-based competency, both felonies and misdemeanors. Some of them are restored to competency. They come back to the jail at that point to resolve the issue. It's at that point that we have that window of opportunity that the district attorney and public defender, looking at those cases, believing that they make sense to refer them to our mental health providers, and we are not then just releasing those folks without the treatment piece already hooked in, because that actually is a population that we have invested a lot of time to move out of the mental health treatment center for the competency restoration. Now that they're restored, now what? So this is sort of a path that we're developing where they will still have eyes on them through the mental health court based on the referral process. So we feel that this is one of the things that's also unique to our program, but it's not really the only one. That's a small population in many respects. We're trying to look at the bigger goal of serving, by having the two courts, having the volume be appropriately distributed based on both probation and clinical need.
Thank you.
Next, Matt Perry.
I have a question for Uma regarding, I may have missed this, but could you speak on the bullet point on slide 5, public agency must partner with one or more community organization for a minimum of 50% of the total grant award? Does that mean a community-based organization? And if so, how will they be, who will you choose to partner, or what does that process look like?
Well, the 50% participation and involvement of community-based organizations is basically part of the grant requirement, so that not all the money simply goes to administrative or other kinds of factors. The way we are thinking we would do that would be through our competitive process in the county, pretty much one of the strengths, I think, of Sacramento County is that we have a pretty robust community-based organizational system delivering mental health, substance use, case management, and other services. So we would we would utilize our county competitive process to do that. Now, we are aware that the timelines are very tight around what we have to do, but I think we have to, we really are thinking, how fast can we get this off the ground? Because we really need the speed of it, but doing it within the processes that we have. So the 50%, that part, frankly, was not as big a worry for us in Sacramento. I think in some other counties, they don't have as big a community-based organizational structure, and that is a little bit more problematic for them to be able to meet the 50%. But we're not really concerned about the other counties at this moment. We're going for our competitive bid.
Thank you.
Bill Walker.
Yeah, can you share how you determine to exclude certain groups and certain factors? You say you had quite a bit of discussion on exclusionary factors. How did you determine who won't be a part of this process?
Are you...
I'm talking about sexual offenders, shot callers, violent felonies, under influence.
I'm going to call the district attorney and public defenders to to answer this, because it really, from my perspective, I would say that I have long struggled with the issue of doing voluntary services for as many people as we can, but I realize that communities want safety, and they really want to be able to feel that whoever's being served in the community is appropriate to be in the community. So these exclusionary factors, I would like to call them up to answer that question, because it's really more on their side.
I'll let Robin take the lead on this.
Okay.
We discussed it.
And actually, we had a speaking point, very good question, and that is that these are exclusionary factors because these are felt to be generally the people that are the most present the biggest public safety risk. But the caveat is that any of these people can be admitted on a case-by-case basis at the sole discretion of the district attorney's office. So we do actually have a lot of people in mental health court now. We don't have shot callers, and we don't have sex offenders right now. But we do have people with violent current convictions, prior convictions. We don't do driving under the influence, but we do have some with serious current felony convictions. So it's all case-by-case, and really the whole program is case-by-case. Every person is looked at individually. But there is always that safety hatch that the district attorney can decide to let them in.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Any other questions?
I have a question.
Oh, back to Matt Perry.
I just wondered, just to close the loop in my mind, why are the DUI cases handled in a different area with a different process, or why are they excluded?
Yes. We are looking at another grant for our repeat DUI offender program. But remember that this is supposed to be a mental health program, and so most people that we look for at drunk driving, we're not looking at that, and they do. Once you get to be a serial drunk driver, you present a really grave risk to the public in terms of what we can manage.
And I can maybe add to that to help you some of the logic in the initial discussions back in '07 when it all started. I wasn't there, but looking at the archives, the general sense was that DUIs are priorable type offenses, and the risk to the community if they were to get a second DUI and things of that nature. Often the district attorney historically, for the protection of the community, wanted to have that prior available to them, because these courts are a carrot and stick courts based on the evidence-based drug court model. So there's incentives and sanctions, and frequently some of those sanctions involve a dismissal of your case. So in that situation, that's why it would be the district attorney historically would be reluctant, because if the person went out and drove drunk again, they wouldn't have that prior for the community.
Thank you.
Next, Mr. Ainsworth.
I had we're looking at expansion. I had a question on the bullet point, housing supports and resources. What form do you anticipate that would take?
We're still working a little bit on that area, because we know that in our intensive mental health programs, what we call our full-service partnerships, that do provide some of the treatment in the intensive courts. There are housing, they have funding, flexible funding dollars where we can assist with the housing needs. But we also know that some of these, the population doesn't fit the category of the intensive necessarily, so they might be in a different program. So we're looking to, I'm working with our Director of Homeless Initiatives and both our city and county effort to see whether we can find a way to have an expedited referral process that will help us. These folks would be the ones who would need those services as well. It's parallel tracks right now. They would have to go here and here. So if we're able to come up with a way that a referral coming from our mental health court case management, we can then see where they would fit within the housing component. So if they're homeless, and then we have to figure out which type of homeless category that it would work. But if they're on the intensive side, our intensive programs do help with the housing supports. So that's where we know that that's an area where We still have a little bit of work to do to fill out that picture, but it's our intention to be able to say something about that area in our grant once we get closer to completing it.
Any other questions? So, Uma, I know that you, in the course of your presentation, asked for committee volunteer, perhaps. Maybe before we get to that, we have several people who've signed up for public comment. Perhaps we hear that first and then maybe come back to the committee assignment. First up is Danielle Williams. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm really excited that our county is applying for this grant. My name is Danielle Williams, and I'm an organizer with Sacramento Area Congregations Together. And I'm here with the Sacramento Community Reinvestment Coalition, which is a coalition that has come together to see how we can reform our criminal justice system to create savings to reinvest in a lot of programs like these that reduce recidivism and provide vital services in our community. So I'm not sure how the BSCC works. I actually had a few questions myself. But first thing is, we found out about this hearing and others 2 days ago. And so in trying to get the community input has been very difficult, and we're trying to, because of the short notice, and trying to read through this and understand it to be able to provide the feedback also takes time. So I just wanted to say that. The questions that I had was, the question that I had, or comments that I had, more so around the mental health court. There is a large list of folks who were excluded. And my thinking around that is that I know people who have mental health illness who did not qualify for the mental health court and who offended. So as a community member, I just want to say that it is important that the folks who are on that excluded list also get services. And some of them are in the community as well. So treatment, rehabilitation for that population is important. The other thing, in terms of the community subcommittee that would be put together for this, I think the county should be intentional about including the voices of those who are formerly incarcerated, those who receive these services, and those who are re-entering back into the community. That voice is very, very vital, even for the discussions that this committee has on a monthly basis. And the other question that I had, so we're just still trying to figure all this out, what are the current mental health services that are provided to people who are on probation now? Are there people, is there an opportunity to expand that as well? Because that seems to reach out to a broader people than the mental health court, which is a bit more exclusionary. And so that's just with me reviewing this in this little bit of time. But that's my feedback for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see. Next up is Mr. Leon Dixon.
Good morning, and thank you for your time. I just had a couple of questions, actually, really. It was mentioned that community partners would be selected through a competitive process, but it really wasn't stated what that process would be or what the time frame for that is, and so it would be helpful to know that information. As was mentioned by Ms. Williams, several community members who are actually interested in participating in this grant did not find out about the community meetings taking place until a couple of days ago. And so it's very important that whatever the process is for selecting community members is that it's publicized and that all community members have an opportunity to compete for an opportunity to participate. And then also, I didn't quite catch this point, and I don't know if it was mentioned before, but I'm wondering how many people are expected to be participants in the program as folks receiving services. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Mr. Tony Marin.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Just wanted to raise a few issues, a couple concerns and questions I have. It seems to me that the focus is far more oriented towards mental health and mental health problems, when the grant, as I read it, includes mental health and other abuses, drug abuse in particular. So I'm concerned about that. I know that it's our mental health agency that's submitting the grant. Nonetheless, it could have been any public agency. But I fear that this slant is going to be too much on mental health. And not enough on substance abuse and other issues. Secondly, the focus seems to be mostly on adults. And again, as I read the program, it's to be juveniles and adults. And it seems that from what I've heard, the focus is primarily on adults. Diversion program, there's no mention of diversion in what I've seen the county mental health propose here, and I'm concerned about that. We need diversion programs for youth. The advisory committees. I attended a meeting last night in which, unless I'm incorrect, the committees are already existing committees that are going to be used, whereas I thought that there was going to be a new committee structure set up specifically for this grant. There again, it would seem that CBOs or community-based organizations are not included specifically in this advisory committee. And lastly, I'd like to mention to you that it seems that there may be more of a supplanting of existing programs instead of supplemental. As I read the program, it says no supplanting should be involved in this, and although supplemental is acceptable, that's not the exact words, but nonetheless, that's the message I read out of this. And what I've seen, what has been proposed so far by mental health, is a supplanting of existing programs. Ladies and gentlemen, I submit to you that existing programs have not worked, neither in this county or in counties up and down the United States of America for the last 50, 100 years. We are where we're at today because our programs, although we've struggled mightily, and I'm not criticizing anybody, they have not worked. It's time for new programs, for new outlooks, for alternative programs, innovative programs. I'm involved in a program that looks at the core problems, where they start. And these problems start at youth levels, okay? They don't start at adult level. What we see at the adult level are the symptoms of what's going on. We need to go back to where they started. I believe personally that that's where we will get the most success. One of our members here in the police community said, we're having problems that we cannot arrest ourselves out of. These are serious problems. And if we continue to work with existing programs, we're not going to get to where I think we need to be. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I have Andrea Good or Cruel. I'm not sure.
Cruel?
Possibly, or Good.
No, Andrea Crook.
Crook.
My grandpa would always say, at least you didn't marry a felon. So thank you for having me here this morning and giving me an opportunity to talk. I'm a client advocate liaison to behavioral health, and I work with NorCal MHA. And we are an advocacy agency, and I have to say that we have supported mental health courts for many years. We actually put together a position paper that we're putting out nationally that I'd like to share with you, but I think it's very useful and can help to guide us at a local level as well. I wish I had larger font, but I want to share a little with you. So we advocates support the expansion of mental health courts. Mental health courts have been created in numerous jurisdictions across the United States, largely as a response to the increasing number of defendants with serious mental health conditions and mental illness. And who are caught up in the criminal justice system. We advocates support the use of mental health courts to the extent that they reduce the number of persons with mental illness in the criminal justice system and reduce the number of persons with mental illness who are further stigmatized by a criminal conviction, and reduce the number of persons with mental illness in the prisons and jails. We support the use of mental health courts, which are a part of a larger effort to divert persons with mental illness from the criminal justice system by improving mental health services and providing diversion at the earliest stage possible. And we encourage jurisdictions to follow those mental health court models which use the least possible coercion. I hope that you will support this expansion, as we know that the research evidence shows that a well-designed mental health court will reduce recidivism amongst participants, improve mental health outcomes, and reduce the length of incarceration for participants. And when I say a well-designed mental health court, what I mean by that is that it's always focusing on the recovery model with the recovery of the individuals that we are serving at the heart of our goal. So thank you.
Thank you. Last speaker I have is Jeremy Sorensen. And if I recall correctly, Mr. Sorensen, as you make your way to the podium, you were in attendance at the Stepping Up Summit here in Sacramento a couple of weeks, and you made Sacramento very proud in your comments. So welcome.
Thank you, sir. Good morning. My name is Jeremy Sorensen. I'm a mental health court graduate. Mental health court changed my life. I was drug addicted, treating crimes all over the place, and I got arrested on a DUI, possession under the influence. I was going to lose custody of my son when I got sent to jail. And mental health court came to my rescue, and I didn't lose custody of my son. And I've now been clean for 2 years. I've been working as a peer support specialist at TLCS Clubhouse for a little over 2 years now. And it just changed my whole life. I mean, this program works. I mean, I'm proof of it. All right, thank you.
Thank you. So, several questions. Uma, I may ask you to come back to the podium if you would and address at least a few of the sort of more process-oriented pieces as it relates to, treatment for drug and alcohol, as well as the number of participants who are going to be targeted potentially.
The question around the number of participants the expansion is for 40 more participants. So we're going up to 140. We're currently at 90. So it is actually an expansion. The other question that was asked was related to substance use services. Part of our effort in terms of the community-based component of this is to increase the substance use treatment services for this population. As you know, in the 2016 Surgeon General's report on drug addiction, it really does state that it takes about a year to 18 months of different levels of treatment for someone to recover from substance use, substance misuse. So that's the new term that's being used. So you have the residential type of level you need for a certain period of time, then you need the outpatient, then you need the recovery services when you sort of fall off your recovery path. So you have a lot of these factors. So we are building in the enhancements, as we talked about, the substance use disorders is definitely part of this. I do want to say that I appreciate a couple of the comments made by community members very much. I'm of the belief too that those case-by-case examples we talked about around the exclusionary factors for the mental health court, it should not be that we are not going to provide treatment services for that other population. In fact, everyone deserves treatment services if they are in need of that. But for this particular grant and for this particular proposal, we were trying very hard to come up with both finding where is our gap in our community and what is the most competitive path that we can go forward with for this application, knowing that these applications are going to be very competitive. So there's no guarantees that we will be successful in making in this application, but we really are not talking about we're talking about a limited amount of money in this application for us to test something and to be able to prove with the data, the evaluation piece, as to whether we were right or wrong around what we were trying to do. So appreciating the feedback, but this grant is conceptualized very much around sort of the pressing gaps and needs we have in our community. So the other point that was raised, which I think actually, Mr. Yarber, you're better at responding to it than me, but we do have programs in our day reporting center and other places where probationers do receive mental health and substance use assessments and services. But again, as you look on this, you have to define your target population very, very tightly to be able to say you're going to do X for Y. If the broader you go, the bigger you go, the harder it is for you to define what you can do to make, to be able to demonstrate success around this. So those are the points I think that I picked up. And I do want to also say that as you deliberate your participation in the advisory body, I think one thing that we would very much like to do, and we heard last night, is to also have the advisory committee be inclusive of community members who may want to sit on such an advisory committee and be able to give their thoughts, because I think the points made about the experience of re-entering into a community after being detained or in detention, some of these things always help us make our programs better. So having advisory members who can speak to those aspects of either treatment or diversion or reentry would be very valuable for our advisory committee. For now, though, what we're trying to do is hit our deadline around our grant, and so we come to you asking for the initial support around that.
Great. Let me come back to that just in a second. You're actually right about the probation department's efforts at trying to treat those who have mental health issues. We have senior mental health counselors embedded in many of our operations and programs, and we'll work to essentially try to meet those individuals' needs as they go through their tenure on probation. There was also a question about the selection of community-based organizations, and I would assume that process would follow the county's procurement process. When you're nodding your head, is that accurate?
That is correct.
And so now let's get back to perhaps the committee. And would you mind, can you maybe just give us an overview? You may have said it, but I may have missed it, sort of the composition of what the advisory committee will look like.
Trying to get to where we had it in our PowerPoint. Okay. What we were thinking is in our community we have our mental health board, we have our alcohol and drug board, and we have community corrections partnership. 3 different bodies that sort of look at it from a different lens, look at what's going on for different programs. So to make our proposal really creative and competitive, we thought, what if the existing bodies, those 3, considered having a subgroup, a local advisory body, which is really like a subgroup of all 3 committees that work together to, on a quarterly basis, or I think we were thinking the requirement is a quarterly basis, meet and report back to each one of the bodies as to what's going on with this grant. So it provides the advisory role. It could be an advisory role that could be subsumed in one of the existing meeting structures, or it could be a separate advisory meeting that takes place, which includes some other community members and others who are giving feedback, and then the report backs do come to all 3 groups, the mental health board, the alcohol and drug board, as well as the community partnership. And just to add, we were thinking to be effective, we would want, if we say one person, you always need a backup for the one person in case you need to make a decision. So we were thinking having a primary and a secondary person who's owns this project in terms of advisory body role, and we would have to submit those names and their role in our application.
Thank you. I see a couple questions. Mr. Ainsworth, have you still have a question? You do not. Okay, Dr. Heller, sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I really appreciate the public input. I wrote down lots of notes from the comments that were made. I especially appreciate and want to assure folks that the turning to the Mental Health Board and the Drug and Alcohol Advisory Board and the Community Corrections Partnership to nominate people to the advisory committee is a way of making our grant proposal more competitive by showing the buy-in of the existing parts of our community, to show that this grant is not just sort of an appendage, a program hanging out there, but is well integrated with everything else that we're working on. But it's not meant to be exclusionary, and the idea of having community representatives on the local advisory board, and especially people who've been through reentry and treatment, is a really excellent idea that we're taking seriously. Also want to comment briefly that I think the philosophy of our department and of all of the departments that participated in the development of this grant proposal is consistent with the remarks that were made about where problems start and the importance of having programs for youth and not waiting for a long criminal history to develop before we have such programs. And our department and many of our departments are collaborating on many such programs at this time. So we have the crossover youth practice model, for example, which is specifically targeted at children involved in the foster care program, as well as the juvenile delinquency programs to minimize involvement with criminal justice. We have a significant new investment in intensive treatment programs for transition age youth, the most intensive, comprehensive programs we can offer, and all kinds of behavioral health services for youth as well. In this particular grant, we wanted to be competitive, and we are easily able to demonstrate the need for additional probation supervision for adults in the community. That is easier to demonstrate, frankly, with data about the number of currently unsupervised individuals that we have in the community. And further, we find that targeting adults for this grant is consistent with the intent of the proposition and the way the savings, the funding for this grant is generated, which is from adults leaving the prison system. So that was the reason why we're targeting this grant. It does not necessarily represent our priorities as a whole for our whole comprehensive behavioral health, criminal justice interaction. As far as the action item for this morning, my view is that it strengthens our grant application for the Community Corrections Partnership to nominate as its representatives those who are identified in the community as protecting public safety, and because I think that's the message we want to send in our grant application with these particular nominations from our board. I'm prepared to formally nominate Marlon Yarber as our Community Corrections Partnership representative to the local advisory board on this grant, and as a backup, if he's unavailable, Steve Grippy. So I'm making that as a motion.
Great, we have a motion. We have a couple more comments. Chief Torgerson.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I just wanted to mention that oftentimes in government, you have agencies with competing interests and everything, and I can truly say this has been a priority with every agency represented at the table, you know, to include the court. And I really think the timing on this is great from a community perspective. In our jails, we're currently expanding our jail-based competency programs to misdemeanors, which we just started in December, and we are working very closely with the DA's office and other agencies, state hospitals, to expand that program to females as well in custody. We're also doing quite a bit of looking at our processes treatment, trying to enhance treatment for the mentally ill in custody, and looking how we can better bridge as they're released to the community through triage navigators to provide better services as well. So for some of you that think that if somebody's not a part of mental health court that they're not going to be benefiting. There are a lot of discussions in a lot of different committees and forums right now on this very issue, and it is very much a priority across the board here at the county that we look at this from a community perspective, not just the jail, not just the community, but how that whole system works. And so I just wanted to mention that because I've been very impressed by just across the board cooperation for the good of the community, not only to protect the community, but for the consumers and those that need the services. So, thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to take one question out of order. I've got a question from County Council, and actually I have a question for him just with regards to how the item is agendized and our ability to take action.
That was exactly why I wanted to make a comment. We have a agenda that only indicates this is a presentation, so I don't believe we have the ability today to take a vote on forming a subcommittee. I think it's fair game to have a conversation about that, what the composition of it might be, but the actual vote to ratify such an action would need to be delayed until the next meeting.
So just to be clear.
Use your mic, please.
Just to be clear, I don't think there is any intent to form a subcommittee. The grant proposal is proposing the formation of a local advisory committee, and we are required as part of the grant proposal to name the names and have them sign who is going to be on the advisory committee representing local existing bodies. Right? So we're not forming a subcommittee. We need to submit 2 names. And if there's another mechanism you have to suggest for how to do that without our voting, I mean, I suppose as the lead agency submitting the grant proposal, I could just invite those 2 individuals.
That's absolutely what could happen, is that the individuals can volunteer and be on the committee. It's just that this body can't take a vote on any action regarding this or any other issue because it hasn't been agendized to indicate to the public that a vote would occur today.
In that case, I'll withdraw my motion and invite comments and discussion from the board so that I know whether I'm in a strong place to invite those 2 individuals to submit their names on the grant application.
So I have no objection. I'll maybe turn next to Mr. Grippy, and that you're mentioned as an alternate.
No, I have no objection. I'd be honored to serve.
Likewise. I also have a question from Britt Ferguson.
Thank you.
I also have no objection.
I think that's a great idea. I think that's a great choice. I just wanted to make a couple comments, actually. First of all, thank Uma, and I know Catherine York from our office worked on this, and representatives from the DA's office and the public defender's office and the sheriff and probation. And I think we all know up here, but the public may not fully appreciate the amount of effort that went in such a short period of time to put together an application like this. And I think the fact that, to my way of thinking, the proposal is as well thought out and as as well thought out as it is really a testament to everybody's hard work, and I really appreciate that. I think the couple things about it that I found particularly positive is that it really does, as I think has been said, address a real need. I mean, sometimes grants come out and organizations put in applications because the grants are available, but in this case, I think it's really thoughtfully targeted at a real need in the justice system. The people with mental health issues. We know our jail has become in part a mental health treatment center, and we see that throughout the system. And so this is really it's really timely. It's something that addresses a need that at one point or another we're going to have to address as a county and as a community. So I think that's positive. And I also think what's positive is what I would say is the practical and flexible approach to doing this. We heard from both the district attorney and the public defender about the tension that arises, but about how it's going to really be, despite the exclusions that are listed, it's really going to be done on a case-by-case basis, and we're going to look at the needs of the individual as well as public safety. And I think that's a very practical and flexible way, and I really commend you for taking that approach, and that even extends to the way that you're proposing to put together an advisory committee, which is to not just to really look at what we already have and build on that, and I think that's a very practical approach. So I really think this is a great project and well thought out, and again, I appreciate all the work that all of you have done to try and bring this together.
Thank you for those comments. Paul Lake.
Yeah, I would echo Britt's comments. There's a lot of pressure and demands on UMA and Sherry and their staff. Most of it comes from me. So I appreciate you guys putting this towards the top of your list. I did have one question following up on some of the public comment, and perhaps I think you did mention it. The next steps in terms of actually submitting this, I believe this has to come and will be coming to the Board of Supervisors for approval to apply?
Yes.
And when is that?
7th. On the 7th, next week.
Next Tuesday.
Yes.
It will come before the Board of Supervisors.
Yes,
and I don't know if that would be a time where they would actually make an appointment to these committees, or is that part of the process, or not necessarily?
I think the Tuesday item is really requesting permission to apply for the award.
Okay. All right, thank you.
And if you don't mind, I want to ask a question based on the discussion, because I am sort of thinking ahead to get the application completed. Is it possible we can put I think this idea of a flexible local advisory body is really good, and we would have community members as well on it, but we do know that the Mental Health Board and the Alcohol and Drug Board, both of them are committed to being formally on it. Can we bring this back? We can submit our application. Can we bring this back perhaps after we've submitted to make a more formal request to have the Community Corrections Partnership be formally included in that local advisory board? I just think from the community perspective, from your perspective, it would be really nice to have that formal channel of report back so you know what's going on with the grant, rather than just have those two bodies get it, but perhaps we missed.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, I don't believe it'd be an issue. Rick Heyer?
I think that's the appropriate way to handle it, is to have it at the next scheduled meeting as an agenda item, and then the body can take the appropriate vote.
I would point out that because this is going to the Board of Supervisors on the 7th, that does represent another opportunity for public comment. So for those of you who express concern that people weren't noticed enough time to get to these advisory board meetings, that would be another opportunity. And we'll be there and listening as well as the Board of Supervisors as well.
Great. So I appreciate all of the thoughtful comments, question and answer as well as it relates to the item. And that I have no other requests to speak. Madam Clerk, item 2, is there any other public comment for us to consider today? Seeing none, I believe that concludes our meeting. So thank you all.